order. If you would rise, and we'll have a brief moment of silence, and to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have no proclamations this evening, nor do we have presentations, so we will proceed with the roll call.
Mayor Wolgast.
Here.
Council members Hiller.
Here.
Brown. Here. Ortiz.
Here.
Everhart.
Here.
De La Isla. Manspeaker.
Here.
Schwartz.
Here.
Schmidt.
Here.
And Harmon.
We do have some visitors here this evening that I want to recognize. Troop 7178, Girl Scouts from Wanamaker Elementary School. Would you stand, please? Thank you. We are glad that you're here, and we hope you enjoy the evening. Thank you. Council members, there are no additions or deletions to the minutes. There will be one executive session, and then we will proceed with the consent agenda.
A is a board appointment recommending the appointment of Toby Taggart to the City of Topeka Board of Building and Fire Appeals for a term ending December 31, 2016. B is a board appointment recommending the appointment of Keith Finney to the City of Topeka Board of Building and Fire Appeals for a term ending December 31, 2016. C is a board appointment recommending the appointment of Matthew Werner to the City of Topeka Board of Building and Fire Appeals for a term ending December 31, 2016. D is a board appointment recommending the appointment of William Brown to the City of Topeka Board of Electrical Appeals for a term ending December 31, 2016. E is a board appointment recommending the appointment of Jen Grumwald to the City of Topeka Board of Electrical Appeals for a term ending December 31, 2016. F is a board appointment recommending the appointment of David Height to the Topeka Landmarks Commission for an unexpired term ending January 31, 2016. G are minutes of the regular meeting of November 25, 2014, and there are no applications.
Thank you. And council members, those first 5 appointments to the boards are all reappointments, and you can see that they all are coming due at the end of the year. Okay, that is the consent agenda. What is your pleasure, Deputy Mayor?
I would move adoption.
Okay, it's been moved to approve, and Councilwoman Schwartz seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no.
We have 9 yes.
9 having voted yes, the consent agenda is approved, and I want to introduce David Height. If you would stand, please. David is the new appointee to the Landmarks Commission. He is a senior project manager with Schwartz Design. Thank you. Appreciate your service. And we will proceed with the action items. The first is an ordinance pertaining to DTI.
A is an ordinance introduced by City Manager Jim Colson amending City of Topeka Code Section 304030, establishing a service fee levy for 2015 relating to the Capital City Downtown Business Improvement District and specifically repealing said original section.
Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With your permission, I would ask Mr. Gerber to introduce this item and then also invite Vince Fry to step forward and provide information and answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gerber.
Mr. Colson, Mr. Mayor, thank you. As indicated, approval would authorize imposition of business service fees and improvement service fees on businesses downtown, and would repeal the ordinance from change the ordinance from last year. At this point, the BID is not requesting any additional fees from last year, so those will remain the same. This is an item on which the city collects about $186,000 on behalf of the BID, and it's a pass-through. We give it right back to them for their management of those fees. So with that brief introduction, I'd ask Mr. Fry to come forward and give you some more details on that.
Thank you. Mr. Fry.
Good evening. I appreciate the opportunity, Mayor and Council.
a lot's been going on downtown this past year, and I could talk for quite some time on everything that's been happening. But I've been told I only have about 3 or 4 minutes, and to keep my comments with regard to the BID, so I will try to do that. Because of that limitation, I have presented the city clerk with a presentation that goes into a little more detail about the BID than my 3 or 4 minutes, but just wanted to give you a brief summary. As you well know, the BID was established in 1986. Since 1995, Downtown Topeka Incorporated has administered that district on your behalf. You have an advisory board that the mayor has appointed and you've approved that oversees the district. They give me my direction as to the services that we submit as well as the budget. We submitted those back in April for 2015, and you have those, I presume, in front of you. The vision that the advisory board has is the DTI will continue to be the premier business location in Topeka. It will be the cultural and entertainment center for the area, and it will be an attractive and convenient location for shopping, dining, living, and playing. I think we're going to be getting to that real quick after this project is over at the end of 2015. The budget that we presented, as Mr. Gerber said, is exactly the same as last year. The advisory board did not recommend any increases to the assessed amount, and so the budget is basically the same. It is not passed through completely to us. We only we submit invoices and we are reimbursed for those that we give to the city. We have established services that basically are similar to past years: general maintenance and cleaning of the district. We create a walking path through snow during the winter months, up and down the avenue from 3rd to 10th Street and on the side streets. We maintain the district amenities such as benches and trash cans. We work with the forestry department, the city's forestry department, on the landscaping of downtown, and we provide maintenance on the equipment. And we will eventually put up Christmas decorations when we have something to put them up on in the future. I want to talk about events briefly because we want to make downtown an entertainment district. And in the last 2 years, we have created over 30 new events for downtown, in addition to the parades and the other things that have been going on there annually. We feel that we brought in over 100,000 people to these new events to downtown, and that's one of our goals, is to bring more people downtown. As far as promotion, we have created a new website for downtown. It's a resource for a lot of information that we think is very pertinent. We also have a Facebook page, Twitter. We have a partnership with the television, radio stations, newspaper, and we've created a newsletter for the district that has been mailed to every business in the district, which we're pleased, and I think a copy is in your presentation. Economic development-wise, we're working hard on recruiting new businesses downtown. We keep an inventory of available properties. In the past 2 years, we've had 12 properties that were purchased on Kansas Avenue alone. We've been very involved in trying to connect people that have an interest with those properties, and we're excited about some of the things that are planned for those properties. We're very involved in the fundraising efforts with the Downtown Topeka Foundation, and as you'll hear later tonight, we're involved in the planning of a historic district in the area. So very briefly, that's kind of an update. We can tell you that by this time next year, the redevelopment project will be complete, and the advisory board as well as DTI is really excited about what this opportunity will present to the citizens of Topeka. So I'd be more than happy to try to answer any questions you might have.
Are there questions for Mr. Fry or Mr. Gerber? Councilman Hitt?
Mr. Fry, you mentioned all of the events and the activities that DTI is involved with downtown and the new website that they're all on. Can you tell us what that website is?
DowntownTopekaInc.com.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Del Isla?
Thank you, Mayor Wolgast. Vince, I know that there was a point in time when I was heavily involved in the downtown that we were discussing how the BID was assessed based on square footage for buildings. And one of the challenges that we had was that because we had several vacant buildings, there were several tax dollars that were being lost. Some of these buildings were buildings with people that are local, that are working hard to get those buildings moving, but there were some of those buildings that were a hindrance for us to get them moving. As a body, have we sat down to take a look at how that tax is being assessed so that it could be a tool to assist us with this situation?
Well, the advisory board has discussed that, absolutely. I'm pleased that many of those buildings that you're probably referring to are now in the hands of local investors that do have plans for them, and hopefully we can make some announcements with regard to those plans in the near future. But you know, there are certain properties that are not taxed with this assessment, and certainly vacant properties are some of those.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. The other question that I had, you talked about the business development aspect, and that is something that is extremely important. As we're redeveloping our downtown, we want to make sure that all of those storefronts get filled. Is there a collaboration that you're working on right now with the chamber and with other entities to assure that as we're building our downtown and investing so many dollars in there, that there is a direct approach to try to bring businesses down there?
Yes, we are working with the chamber and Topeka. We're also working with the city. We also are working with some of the commercial realtors. I am not a commercial realtor. I'm not a developer. My role is to try to connect the people that can make those things happen. And again, there are things that are happening that are very exciting for me to know what is transpiring behind the scenes. And I'm just anxious to be able to make that public when it's the right time.
Thank you.
Are there other questions? Thank you. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Mrs. Hiller?
Move to approve.
It's been moved to approve, and Mr. Brown seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes, opposed vote no. I vote yes.
We have 10 yes.
Then, having voted yes, the ordinance is approved. Go to item B, a resolution on the boundaries of the city.
B is a resolution introduced by City Manager Jim Colson declaring the entire boundary of the City of Topeka and rescinding City of Topeka Resolution Number 8567.
Mr. City Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Sublette will provide information on this and answer any questions.
Mr. Mayor, Council, in accordance with KSA 12-517, every municipality by the end of December has to declare what their corporate boundaries are. This is simply this year's resolution declaring what those boundaries are. We put a map together in case somebody just wanted a visual of what that looked like instead of, I don't know, 20 pages of single-spaced property descriptions. But essentially, this is just this year's resolution to declare what our corporate boundaries are.
Thank you. Are there questions? Ms. Delisla? It's been moved to approve. Councilman Schmidt seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor vote yes, opposed vote no. I vote yes.
We have 10 yes.
And having voted yes, the resolution is approved. Go to item C, approval of the alcohol grant recommendations.
C is approval of funding recommendations by Alcohol and Drug Abuse Advisory Council in the amount of $600,000 for the 2015 Special Alcohol Fund.
Mr. City Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommended amount is based on projected liquor tax collected by state and is required to be allocated to alcohol and drug programs. This is the same amount as was allocated in 2014. With your permission, I'd ask Jared Harson, who's the chair of the Topeka Shawnee County Alcohol and Drug Abuse Advisory Council, to provide some information about the work done and answer any questions.
Thank you.
I'm not Jared.
Hello.
He's quite a bit younger than I am, actually.
I'm
I'm Max
sorry, we get-
Wilson.
Okay, yeah.
I'm Max Wilson. I'm the chair of the Grant Review Committee. And since Jared's program is one of the grantees, he thought maybe I ought to do this tonight. I just was thinking on the drive down here, this is my 25th year of appearing at this meeting, not appearing up here, but at the meeting in support of these grants. So congratulations, Wilson. 25 years. You have, I think, in front of you the spreadsheet that indicates the amount requested and amount recommended by the Alcohol and Drug Council. We had $674,088 in requests. We had to cut $74,088 stay within the $600,000 allocated. We were able to fund all the evidence-based programs except one, and the one was Mirror of the Recovery Connect, and we didn't choose to fund that because there was $26,691. Because there was indicated no additional funding beyond city funding to buy telephone apps for smartphones, and that would be a recurring expense year after year. This would to help remedy relapse and those kinds of things. New technology. It's kind of exciting, but we just didn't feel like we could get into that. Reduce treatment slots in other places that we had to go. So there are people here from these programs. If you have questions, I can call them up here. If not, I'll be here to answer any questions I can.
Are there questions for Mr. Wilson? And just the background note, this is the tax paid with the purchase of alcohol products within Shawnee County. By state statute, it comes back to the city, actually to the county and the city, and it's in the state statute how it is to be expended. And 1/3 goes to alcohol-related programs.
Right.
And we have an advisory council that recommends to the council, to the city council, how those are to be spent.
That's correct. I would, one other note, I would encourage you to keep an eye on these funds for this coming legislative session.
Yes.
Liquor by the drink, they've tried to sweep this into the state general fund a couple of other times, and I think it will be very, very obvious suspect this time. So Kansas League of Municipalities, the Kansas Association of Counties, and the alcohol and drug industry, well, not industry, but the treatment and prevention lobbyists will be very active in this legislative session. Because you have a big investment. You have 1/3 of it going to Parks and Rec, 1/3 of it to general fund, and then 1/3 to alcohol and drug. If we are deprived of these funds, your Medicaid dollars are going to go up substantially to the emergency rooms in the hospitals and also the jails, because social detox won't be, at Vallejo won't be there.
Thank you. Mrs. Ortiz?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. How you doing, Max?
I'm doing fine, thanks.
I have a question. I'm looking at the United Way, and we went from 0 funding to 50,000.
14,000 was the recommendation. They asked for 50.
They asked for 50,
Yeah.
and, okay, 14.
That's
And
a good.
what is that for?
Okay,
Max?
it's a Drug and Endangered Children Coalition has existed for several years. And they have a case manager that, once the pregnant mother is identified as being a substance abuser, they're frequently identified by their docs at the NICU, and they even went to the point where they get into delivery and have a drug-exposed child at the NICU unit at Stormont Vale. They get referred to the Drug and Endangered Children program to help these children as well as mothers to avoid risky behaviors as they're carrying the child. It's a great program. United Way is there as they're a fiscal agent only. They provide the office space and the fiscal support for them, but it's actually a standalone Drug and Endangered Children Coalition. KCSL is involved in it very heavily, Kansas Children's Service League.
Do we do anything for CASA? Do they ever require any drug money?
No.
No?
The drug money is the primary purpose is for prevention and treatment
Prevention and treatment?
of substance abuse, and CASA certainly is, I think, prevents a lot of substance abuse, but it's not primary.
Okay. Thank you, Max.
Sure.
Thank you,
Are there
Mr. Mayor.
Other questions? Mr. Brown?
Mr. Wilson, congratulations on your 25 years.
I ought to get a medallion.
I had a question for you. I noticed that the amounts that the programs are receiving this time, other than slight reductions, are basically unchanged from the
Right.
prior year.
Right.
Can you speak briefly to your scoring for funding of these programs?
Well, scoring, sure. We actually borrowed the Youth and Social Service scoring sheet from their application. They revised it, and we made revisions in ours as well. So they were scored according to priority items heavily weighted on evidence-based programs and local boards of control. Mirror, for example, does not have a local board of control. Their board is headquartered in Newton. So we had that, the scoring sheets, plus we added another component this year, which we had in previous years, 20 years ago. We had presentations, oral presentations by each of the programs, and many of the programs, a couple of the programs brought clients in. It was very effective. Mhm.
Agencies do.
Thank you.
Other questions? Councilman DeLisa? Okay, Ms. DeLisa moves to approve. Ms. Schwartz seconds. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
your presentation. Is there other discussion? If not, all those in favor vote yes. Opposed, vote no. I vote yes.
We have 10 yes.
And having voted yes, the grant recommendations are approved. We go to item D, resolution on star bonds.
D is a resolution introduced by City Manager Jim Colson, authorizing and providing for the public sale of taxable full faith and credit star bonds, Series 2014A, Heartland Park of the City of Topeka, Kansas, under the authority of KSA 10-101 to 125 inclusive, KSA 12-17-160 at SEEK, all as amended and supplemented.
Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to have Mr. Gerber present on this topic and answer questions. Just want to be sure that by the time we're with this discussion, take this action, that the members of this body have a full understanding of what that action is, what it means, what are the future steps that are going to be taken on this path, and what the specific implications is to this body and future decisions. Mr. Gerber?
Mr. Gerber.
Mr. Colson, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I will endeavor to answer the points laid out by the city manager. I'll just start with sort of a brief overview, and that is, as noted in the resolution, if this resolution is adopted, approval allows city staff and our representatives to move forward with all the necessary steps, continuing in the process of issuing full faith and credit bonds, star bonds, for the Heartland Park project. So at its core, that's what this resolution would do. I don't want to minimize the action tonight at all, but I want to frame it in the context that this is very similar to the actions you take in every other bond process that we do. There's typically an authorization from the council at some point. Then that allows staff to proceed with the marketing, the publication, the pricing, the rating calls, all the things associated with issuing bonds. And this would do the very same thing. And then what will typically happen is staff will market and sell those bonds, and we will then come back to you with pricing for you to formally adopt the bids that were taken on the bonds. Typically, the very day we come to you, we've taken we've priced the bonds and gotten prices for you. So we typically bring that back to you that very day. And in this case, the plan would be to price and sell those bonds on the 16th and then bring those back to you for formal approval on the night of the 16th. If the process continues on, there would be some additional steps outside of this body that would need to take place. Specifically, there would be some requirements for approval by the Department of Commerce as well as the State Attorney General's office. So those steps would be outside of this body, but they would be necessary to complete the process as I think we all envision it moving forward. One of the final steps then would be for the city to close those bond documents out, and we would anticipate doing that on December 30th of this year. So again, this is a very similar process to what you've used in the past. You know, for example, with the GO bonds or the revenue bonds that we've done this year even, or we'll do next week, you've authorized us to proceed with the bond process months ago. For example, with the revenue bonds, next week we will come to you with a bid for revenue bonds. So I keep saying this, but it's a similar process to what we've used for all of our other bond sales. So I think with that, I'll stop and stand for questions. if there are any.
Okay, are there questions for Mr. Gerber?
Could,
Yeah, go ahead,
Mr.
Mr.
Mayor, I'd
City
like to ask,
Manager.
thank you, I'd like to ask the city attorney to maybe just provide a little bit of a context as to where we're at in the process and how this relates to what we started several months ago.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Supple.
Several months ago, June, I think, is when these issues started coming before this body. The action regarding the star bonds is consistent with the memorandum of understanding and the workout agreement that was approved. We're getting close to the final steps in that process. But the issuance of the full faith and credit star bonds was part of that memorandum of understanding and agreement to move forward. Again, there's a dual component here that we need not forget, and that would be the expansion of the Star Bond District. This is an action that allows us to move forward to expand that Star Bond District to gain those sales tax dollars to address our debt service. We've all seen the numbers. I'll say them one more time. Through the expanded Star Bond District, the sales tax dollars are about $16.7 million, which will allow us to address the $10 million in outstanding Star Bond debt and this issuance. So this is the next step in that process.
Thank you. Are there questions, comments? Councilman Harmon?
Thank you, Your Honor. Question is directed to the city attorney. You know, last Wednesday, the attorney for Chris Emming indicated his intention to file an appeal. If that appeal is successful, and we have issued these bonds, then what?
Under the general bond law 10108A, in order for us to prevent us from moving forward on a bond sale, there would have to be a stay issued in district court. There's been no stay issued in district court. Essentially, the district court would have to order us to stop the bond sale. The appeal that was filed by Mr. Emming doesn't have an effect on moving forward with the bond sale. Beyond that, if we want to talk about potential litigation and those issues, I'd rather do that in executive session than in open session.
Well, if that's the case, Your Honor, then I would move to go into executive session
Okay.
with the city manager and the city attorney present.
Okay. And do you have state a time?
20 minutes.
All right. It's been moved and seconded that we go into an executive session to discuss the legal ramifications and potential litigation pertaining to the Heartland Park issue. Is there a second? Mr. Brown seconds. All those in favor vote yes, opposed vote no.
We have 9 yes.
9 having voted yes, we will go into executive session when we have the room cleared of the audience. It was 20 minutes.
20?
I'm sorry, let's make sure we're clear.
I thought it was 10.
It was 20,
20, okay.
it was 20 minutes.
It's 28.
No,